grace. But don't think the Most High is not going to pull it up on the day of judgment if you haven't repented from it. That's what Paul was speaking about when he says you're not under law but under grace. You're under grace from the penalty of the law. Christ was hung on a cross so that you don't get killed, that you have a chance to regroup and to repent from your sin so you don't go in a killer, a thief, whatever the laws are. Are you all following me here? So that's what it means. It doesn't mean the law is done away with. And because people misinterpret the Bible through Christianity, you have other people claiming that Paul was trying to get people away from the law, like Muslims. They go against Paul. Everyone is against Paul. Read the fact that Paul says that he consent that the law was good.
Verse 6. Excuse me, verse 7. What shall we say then?
What shall we say then?
Is the law sin?
Is the law wrong?
God forbid.
No. So why can't the Christians pull this one out? The law is not sin. Read.
Nay, I had not known sin, but by the law.
You don't know if you're sinning if there's no law. So how can you get right with the Most High if you don't know what the law is? So these are the scriptures you must pull out to show them that the scriptures they're going to, they have no understanding on. You can't use Paul to purposely break the Most High's law because Paul understood the law. He was a child of a Pharisee. But he also understood how to operate with people that were without the law, to show them the grace of the law so that they can learn Christ, and then they can start applying the laws by nature. They have an opportunity that our foreparents didn't have. We had Moses, but those after Christ have Christ. So that gives us a leg up. With Christ, we have grace to learn all the laws, including the laws of Moses. But Christ's laws are more important. Read.
For I had not known lust, except the law had said, thou shalt not covet.
See that? How would Paul know what lust is if he would not have read the law of Moses that said, thou shalt not covet? He would have no idea what it was. So he considered that the law was good. He didn't say the law was done away with. And see, that's what these guys try to do, like these Israelites that don't want to believe in Christ, these Muslims. They want to try to play Paul against Christ. They try to play Paul against Christ, make you question Paul. When really, the unlearned is not on a level to understand Paul. Christ did the same. Don't forget the Pharisees tried to interrogate Christ for sitting among sinners and publicans and people that was known as sinners. They wanted to totally take Christ out based on the fact that he didn't want to sit up there with the wise men and the people. He said, listen, you already whole. You don't need a physician. I'm going to the sick. Now, Christ couldn't go to the sick, and every time he's around them, he's pointing out everything they're doing wrong. His life around them allowed them to convert. Him naturally being around them, showing them the way to be, allowed these people to come to him and come to the truth of the Most High. So you have to watch these guys that's out there always telling you what you should be doing, but yet they're not doing anything. None of us are perfect. None of us, believe it or not, can hold a match to Christ. None of us. Read. Now I need you to go to read about consent, that it was good.
Verse 16.
Read that again. 16.
Verse 16. If then I do that which I would not, I consent unto the law that it is good.
I consent to the law that it is good. And this is the chapter you all need to pull out on Christians that say the law is done away with. Okay? That claim that Paul is not dealing with the law of Christ. Read the 12th verse.
Verse 12. Wherefore the law is holy, and the commandment holy, and just and good.
Period. It's holy, and it's just, and it's good. But yet, we're not to use the law to put bonds on people, to force them. If a person is being forced to follow the Most High, in their conscience, they're still not following the Most High. They really want to do something else anyway. So they're not really following the Most High. They're doing what they need to do based on total force. Go to Romans, the 2nd chapter. Hold on. Okay, let me give you a few examples real quick on law and grace real quick. According to the law of the Sabbath, here's the law of the Sabbath. You're not supposed to do any shopping from Friday sundown to Saturday sundown. Any shopping for your own acquaintance. Or do the things you would normally like to do for yourself in pleasure during the week. That's the law, right? And if you break the law, if you were caught working or doing any of these things besides resting, someone found you, the law is to put you to death. And these are laws I can read in the Old Testament. You're supposed to be dead on the spot. Right? Now, Christ hung that penalty on the cross. Here's grace on the Sabbath. I'm not supposed to shop because I know it's against the law. But yet, I run into a guy, or I know someone, who needed a pair of shoes. He's homeless, he's doing bad, and I run into him and he needs some shoes. And I go up the street on the Sabbath and break the Sabbath and buy him some shoes right now and give it to him. Right? Now, even though I've so-called broke the Sabbath, I have kept the Sabbath. Why? Because I show love to my fellow man on the Sabbath. And the Sabbath was made for man, not the other way around. And that's what Christ was showing when he was going through the corns and was plucking the corn, and the disciples started eating the corn on the Sabbath. You had the Pharisees sticking their head out, the Pharisees, hey, what's going on? What y'all doing with corn out here on the Sabbath? They was working all night teaching the gospel. Should they not eat corn? They're sticking their head out. And what are you doing in a corn patch on the Sabbath? Seeing me take corn on the Sabbath. So Christ says, if your ox fall in a ditch, will you get it out on the Sabbath day? And you gotta realize oxen is worth money. You can't plow without oxen. You don't get your fruit. You don't get none of that because you need your oxen to plow and make everything work. And you don't travel without your oxen. So he says, if your ox fell in a ditch on the Sabbath, which one of you will go and get it out? Which one of you? Of course you'll get your ox out of a ditch. So are the people more worth than oxen? If our people is out in a ditch, should I not go to get them out of the ditch? You had people try to come against us because we taught out on the street on the Sabbath. What are you doing out on the Sabbath, brother? Shouldn't you be in the synagogue? Listen, brother, the Most High dwell in temple not made with hands. The temple are the people. I'm not in no synagogue. I'm out here getting our people out of a ditch. So this is what happens, and these are the same things that was going on during the time of Paul. You have people that try to put you under the same bonds of the old covenant without giving you time to adjust to the change. This is a life-changing understanding, knowing that you're Israel or learning the truth of Christ or whatever the case is, and you're not going to get everything one day. And you don't need somebody over you every moment telling you what you're not doing right. Okay? Let's get Romans the 2nd chapter. Let's read Romans 2. And let's start at the 23rd verse.
Romans chapter 2 verse 23. Thou that makest thy boast of the law, through breaking the law, dishonorest thou the Most High.
So if you're making boast of the law, but yet you're breaking the law, that's dishonor the Most High. You're boasting about you need to follow this and you need to follow that, but yet you're breaking it yourself. Read.
Verse 24. For the name of the Most High is blasphemed among the Gentiles through you, as it is written, for circumcision verily profiteth, if thou keep the law.
So circumcision profit only if you keep the law. Read.
But if thou be a breaker of the law, thy circumcision is made uncircumcision.
So Paul is telling those brothers that are looking to put binds on the people that if you break the law, you're no different than the Gentiles. Just because you are a people of the law, if you break the law, you become no different than everyone else. Because what makes Israel different is the fact that they received the law, statutes, and commandments of God. Read.
Verse 26. Therefore, if the uncircumcision keep the righteousness of the law, shall not his uncircumcision be counted for circumcision?
So if the Gentiles keep by nature what's in the law, should not their uncircumcision be accounted as them following the law? If they're doing right, should not we count them as we count you when you do right? Read.
Verse 27. And shall not uncircumcision, which is by nature, if it fulfill the law, judge thee, who by the letter and circumcision doest transgress the law? For he is not a Jew, which is one outwardly. Neither is that circumcision which is outward in the flesh. But he is a Jew, which is one inwardly. And circumcision is that of the heart, in the spirit, and not in the letter, whose praise is not of men, but of the Most High.
So being an Israelite is deeper than just your physical father. That's what Paul is showing here. Because to be a Jew, you must follow the laws of Christ. Not just have the law of Moses. That's what he's showing here. It's not just the outwardly. And that's what we tell brothers who try to look at the fringes and ask us where our fringes are and where is the beard and where. Listen, a Jew is not a Jew outwardly. It's not because the Pharisees and scribes had the best clothing during the time of Christ, but were they on the level of Christ? No. All right. The chapter about covering the head was Romans the 11th chapter. That was the chapter we went into about covering the head while praying and prophesying. Okay.